CoverUp. You need your fraction kit, a fraction die with faces marked 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, 1/8, 1/16, and 1/16, and a partner.
Rules. Take turns rolling the fraction die. On your turn, the fraction that comes up on the die tells what size piece to place on the whole strip. Check with your partner to be sure he or she agrees with what you did. After finishing your turn, say done and pass the die to your partner. The first player to cover his or her whole strip exactly wins. If you need only a small piece, 1/8 or 1/16, for example, and you roll a larger fraction, 1/2 or 1/4, for example, you can play. You must roll a fraction smaller than it, or exactly what you need.
And here are Soleil and Naomi getting ready to play the Marilyn Burns game, Cover-Up. Rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first. Scissor, scissor. Scissor cuts paper, and it's Soleil with the roll. Soleil rolls the dice, picks the piece that corresponds to what she rolled on the dice, which happens to be 1/16. We had to make 16ths because 16ths did not come with the kit. And Naomi rolls the dice. Soleil writes down her roll. They write down their rolls to keep track of how the game went, so we can reflect on the game the next day. Naomi places her 1/8 onto her one strip, and she writes down 1/8, and we do it as addition so they get the idea that they can add these fractions together and they will equal 1. Soleil rolls the dice, places the corresponding fraction on. 1/2 is hard to roll because there's only 1 1/2 and 1 1/4. There are 2 1/8 and there are 2 1/16 as rolls. Soleil writes it down, hands the dice to Naomi. Naomi's got an 1/8 on there. Let's see what happens next. She rolls. She pulls the piece out that corresponds to her roll, a 16th. And as I said, there are 2 16ths on the die, 2 1/8, 1/4, and 1/2. Also good sideline probability lesson. Works great for strategizing and knowing what to expect, knowing that you can probably expect an 1/8 and a 16th more often than a 1/2 and a 1/4. Okay, twice as often, in fact. Okay, or is that true? Your professor will know. All right, Soleil adds the corresponding piece, and she records. This recording process is very important as we review how games went, and we talk and reflect on how the games went. It's a happy time talking about who won, who didn't, who was very, very close, and using that motivation to motivate the students to start making generalizations about fractions, and using each other's generalizations to play the game. Okay, there's Soleil. She cannot put another piece on, because as she sees, she's got a 1/2 and 2 16ths on there. She just knows it by sight, and that's important at this stage, that they use the manipulatives often. That's why I'm sending it home for homework. They get a lot of experience, a lot of time putting these pieces together and thinking about what pieces equal what other pieces, and what pieces they're most likely to get, and how much more would equal 1. It's a good transition also into using number lines to represent fractions, which they're not quite ready for yet, and they will be ready in a few weeks after they get a lot of experience with the fraction strips. First comes the fraction circles, then the strips. Before this, they did an activity where they folded paper into halves, fourths, thirds, sixths, and then tried to guess how to fold it into 12ths and how to fold it into 16ths. So they had some experience folding paper prior to this. and then I teach them the game, and the games are the thread through the entire unit. The games thread the entire unit. So they're constantly playing the games, either in class or at home, writing down their fractions, discussing fractions, and then with each fraction lesson, I go back to a concept that they showed me in the game, recall that concept, and use that concept to help further their understanding of fractions. There's Soleil making a decision. Naomi with the roll and recording. Naomi has an idea. She would like to pull some of those fractions off. Because she rolled the 16th, she's got 4/16 and 1/8. She knows as she's measuring them up, you can see that she's measuring it. That's what they need to do. They need to physically measure it. She knew an 1/8 and an 1/8 was a 4th, but she just had to have that one extra check. And now look at this, 1/16 left. How likely is she to roll that 16th? Probability-wise? Oh wait, it's not a 16th. It's a little more than that. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Spoiler alert. Okay. Here she goes, looking for the piece, even looking for those pieces. It's great that they're different colors. There she is, with the 1/8, and now she's just got a 16th left. She knows she's pretty likely to roll. Your professor will tell you what the actual probability is. It always confuses me. I always thought it was 2 out of 6. So 1 out of 3 chance. That's what it is. Okay. And there's Soleil. Okay. Comes down to 1/16. And there you have it. 1/16. A tiny piece added to make a whole. Naomi writes her numbers down. As you can see, Soleil's writing Naomi's name down as the winner, just so they remember who won, how did they win. Here's Naomi's, and she says equals 1, and then writes herself down as the winner. So who won and why? Going to be the next question. And how did they win? Sharing stories of how they won in a happy way, and then coming to some ideas about fraction concepts. And there they are shaking hands. Nice kids.